In the Verbringen of Shabbos Parshas Vayechi, Tovshin Lamed, the Rebbe spoke about Menashe and Ephraim and explained that this represents two drachim, two ways in Avodas Hashem in Zman HaGolus. And he connected it to the name Menashe and to the name Ephraim, etc., etc. Very Gishmak Sicha, and it became actually a very famous Sicha. This Sicha was Mugeh and printed twice. Once in the Hisofis to Chelik Hey, Bekitzer, and then it is also the regular Sicha in Chelik Tesvav. In the Hisofis to Chelik Hey, it's in page 459, and I think it's only since the second edition of Chelik Hey. In the first edition it wasn't there. And then also, as a regular Sicha in Chelik Tesvav, page 432. Now the question is, why was it first printed one way? In other words, it's in one place, Bekitzer, and then another place with changes and more Hisofis, etc., etc. Now the truth is, this is not the only place this happened. And I'm not talking about a Sicha that was not Mugeh and later was printed Mugeh. The Sichas that were Mugeh and were printed in a certain place, wherever any Sefer or as a likud, as a Kuntris came out, and that same Sicha was Mugeh again with changes and Hisofis, or we could call it the Madura Basra second one. And we find this in different places. I'll give just a few examples. For instance, the Sicha of Vayera, Parshas Vayera, Tovshin Chav Hey, is printed in the Hisofis of Chelik Hey. Look at the Sichas. But one of the Sichas in the Sefer itself, not in the Hisofis, to Parshas Vayera, is also the same Sicha, more bariches, more long, with a lot of additional things. We know the famous Sicha of Kom Rabbi Shochter Lereb Zeire. It's printed in the Hisofis to Chelik Chav Zayin, page 267. But it's also in Likud Sichas Chelik Lamed Aleph, the second Sicha to Purim. There's a beer of the Rebbe concerning Sfiras Eimer, the Madregas of Tmimes, different levels. So it's printed first in Sefer HaSichas Tovshin Nun Aleph, page 447, but it's in Chelik Lamed Ches and Likud Sichas to Chag HaShavuos, with more Hisofis and changes. So the truth is, the way it worked was that sometimes, for whatever reason, the Rebbe was Magia Sicha, but then later on, for Likutei Sichas, that same Sicha was written up again with a Sofas based on what the Rebbe said other times, and other things, maybe Zettlach that the Rebbe wrote, so it was printed twice. So the fact that the first time the Rebbe was Magia, it stayed, and it's printed in different places, and because later the Rebbe was Magia for Likutei Sichas, it came into its place in Likutei Sichas. The same thing here with this Sicha. What happened with this Sicha, B'negei Ephraim and Menashe, was the first time it was printed was in the Yiddish Heim. There used to be a journal that was given out by Sheikh Abad. They used to come out a few times a year, which was called the Yiddish Heim. It had the Yiddish section in Yiddish and had a English section. In the Yiddish section, always there was a Sicha printed from the Rebbe. That Sicha was usually written, always written, by Rebbe Heishke Dubrovsky. He was a big writer, and he wrote a lot for the Yiddish Heim. So he used to write up the Sicha, and it would be given into the Rebbe to be Magia. B'chlal, the beginning, the Rebbe was always Magia, the whole section of the Yiddish section of all the other articles too, but certainly of the Sicha. So he would give in a Sicha for the Rebbe to be Magia, and the Rebbe was Magia, and that's how it was printed in the Yiddish Heim. But since that Sicha was Mugia, so it belonged someplace in one of the Svarim of the Rebbe. So it was put in to a place of a Sofa in one of the Svarim, and this one was put into a Sofa of Likutei Sichas Chelik Hey. But that same Sicha was written up longer, which more details that the Rebbe said, and more explanation and different things that was added by the Rebbe, and that was put as one of the Likutim for Likutei Sichas, as a Likud for the Parsha of the week. And that was the Likud for the Sichas, which later came out in Chelik Tesvav. That's why we have both. We have it Bekitzer, the way it was Rebbe Magia to the Yiddish Heim, and that was written by, as I said, specifically by Rebbe Heishke Dubrovsky, who Bechlal was the one that was Mesagnan the Sichas for Likutei Sichas always. He was the one that made the grammar and the Sichas, because he was a Gewaldike writer, and he had the biggest chush, and the Rebbe liked the way he wrote. The Rebbe even once wrote on one of the Hanochas, he wrote in, gave into the Rebbe to be Magia. The Rebbe wrote that I never saw such a good Hanocha written, and he was the one that's Mesagnan Likutei Sichas. So here, for the Yiddish Heim, he also used to write. So the one in Chelik, Hisofis Chelik Hey, is the one that he wrote for Yiddish Heim, and later was printed because it was Mugeh. And then this is also a likud that was made, that was printed in Chelik Tesvav, page 432.